Everyone. What's going on, everyone? We are under emergency podcast circumstances right now where I literally just did a live with Jay not too long ago, like an hour or two ago, talking about Jimmy Garoppolo and what the team was going to do about him. And I wondered, would the 49ers keep him? And lo and behold, we got our answer, of course, much sooner than I thought we would. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be staying on the 49ers for at least another year. Now, I want to talk us off the ledge right now, okay? So, if you guys are upset with this, I hope I can make you feel a little bit better about the situation. But if not, hey, that's okay as well. As always, guys, subscribe and like this video. Let's try to get to 30 likes. Look, if you are not happy with this decision, please don't dislike the video. I am just the messenger. You still like my content. You still like me. So like this video. I appreciate it. So let's get right into it. So in an unprecedented move, the 49ers have signed Jimmy Garoppolo to a 1-year restructured deal. It's worth 6.5 million base salary, which of course is already a lot less than his 25.5 million deal that he was due to get had he stayed on the roster otherwise and they not restructured. So the restructuring was something that needed to happen if he was going to be on this roster past tomorrow. But the 6.5 million in base is fully guaranteed. So at the lowest, that is what he's going to be making. Now, again, he is going to be working as a backup. So as a backup, he'll get 6.5 million. However, there are ways for him to get more money. 500K in roster bonuses. I mean, he's going to make the 53 roster, so he's going to get that 500K as well. And there are also some playtime bonuses in there, which could increase his money earned to 9 million. So 1 year, 7 million, up to close to 16 million. And like I said, the 49ers lowered his base salary to 6.5 million, fully guaranteed, and he has the chance to make about 10 million more in incentives if he starts. Okay, now I know what you're thinking. Why the hell would Jimmy Garoppolo start if Trey Lance is the starting guy? Like, the 49ers gave up so much to get Trey Lance, and now all of a sudden, after all of this talk about eventually cutting, Jimmy Garoppolo or trading Jimmy Garoppolo, he's back in the fold. I mean, so what do the 49ers do about this, big matzo ball hanging around in the locker room? What's interesting is that up to this point, Jimmy Garoppolo didn't even have a playbook. Okay, so to me, that's very interesting. And up to this point as well, the 49ers have been very clear that this is now Trey Lance's team. Okay, so what this means is that it's still going to be Trey Lance's team. He's going to get every opportunity to start, and he is the starter. So he's going to get every opportunity to, lead this team to the playoffs. And that is always the hope for this team, because this roster is absolutely stacked. Anything less than playoffs would be an absolute disappointment. So in a way, keeping Jimmy Garoppolo around is just insurance for this team, for this roster, to be able to do something, even if Trey Lance does not pan out, or if there are injuries. So look, let's go to some of these comments here. Javier Rios, it sounds like you're happy about this decision. He says, Jimmy ain't going nowhere. Keith says, I am upset how fresh your hat is for my Niners hat. All right, so not upset about Jimmy, but upset about my hat. Hey, man, they still sell these, so it's not too late to get one. Javier says, insurance policy. I bet you they know something about Trey. I don't know about that. I'm not ready to make, go into conspiracy theories. I'm a big conspiracy theorist when it comes to the 49ers, but, I don't want to make any assumptions about Trey Lance and what they may know or may not know. So, what I will do though, I can assure you that like every move the 49ers make, I'm going to try to talk myself into accepting that decision. So while I am not, when I first saw this, I was honestly a little upset, but I've already like talked myself off the ledge, so hopefully I could do the same for you guys. Keith Carter says 6.5 million backup versus Sudfeld 2 million as backup. Sudfeld is more of a steal, but at the same time, Keith, Jimmy Garoppolo is way better than Nate Sudfeld, right? Like we know this. So I mean, you're not too mad about paying, about the 4.5 million difference because you are getting a better backup in Jimmy Garoppolo than Nate Sudfeld. But there are implications to this quarterback depth now. What happens with Nate Sudfeld and Brock Purdy? We're going to talk about that in a bit. Let me get to these other comments here. Javier Rios says, bottom line, it's Jimmy's team. No, it's not. Jimmy Garoppolo is a backup. But this is an issue, right? It's an issue that the first sight of Trey Lance, doing something wrong, which is going to happen because this is his first year starting, but the first sight of Trey Lance making mistakes, having a bad game, all of the discussion is going to go towards, well, when is Jimmy going to start? Should Jimmy be starting? Blah, 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 blah. All of the media questions are going to be around Jimmy Garoppolo whenever Trey Lance has a bad game. So that's the issue I have with this still. I don't know how the 49ers plan to navigate that, but it's not, to me, that it's not good. And it could, I hope it doesn't hurt, Trey Lance's ego and confidence, but it very well could. We'll just have to wait and see. But Javier, no, absolutely. It's not Jimmy Garoppolo's team. It's Trey Lance's team, and it's his team to lose pretty much. So I hope that clarifies that. Keith says Jimmy G can now be traded to a team if another quarterback goes down. I'm glad you mentioned this, Keith, because a lot of people are pointing to the no trade clause as well. That means Jimmy Garoppolo can't be traded. In fact, he still could absolutely be traded. The only way that he could be traded, though, is if he waives the no trade clause. So that would have to mean that he would need to agree to the trade. It would obviously have to be to a team that he wants to go to, a situation that he wants to go to, and all of that. So it would have to be under Jimmy Garoppolo's terms if he gets traded. It's still in the realm of possibility should another team's quarterback get hurt and it happens to be a great situation for Jimmy Garoppolo, then yes, he absolutely can still be traded. And so that is one of the good things about this whole situation. And again, I'll talk more about that in a bit. Right on, Javier. Thanks for everyone likes this cap. I'm like, man, it's not that special anymore. I like it, but yeah, you guys can cop this. I'm pretty sure they still sell it on New Era or the NFL 49er shop. But Dawson said, I just talked myself into this situation while recording. Still can't believe this. I love this team. I know I am an absolute fool for this team that even if they do something that I don't initially agree with, I'm going to find a way to make myself like the decision, loyal to the brand. So I'm with you, Dawson. And if you guys haven't checked out Dawson's channel, go ahead and do that. He puts out some great content as well. Keith says, Carolina Panthers have a suspect O-line, so Baker may get injured along with every QB there. They will need Jimmy G's services. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. A situation can open up where another team suddenly needs a quarterback and they're going to be calling the 49ers for Jimmy Garoppolo as soon as that happens, because again, it's for another team. This is suddenly a trade friendly deal. 1 year. It's now, well, if he starts for another team, it would go up to 16 million. If he does reach those incentives, right? Which if another team traded for him, they would trade for him because they want him to be a starter. And that would be the only way that Jimmy Garoppolo would approve of a trade as well. So yeah, he would suddenly 16 million is a easier pill to swallow for another team, should they need a quarterback. Javier says maybe a backup, but I'm guessing the players want a Super Bowl run now, not wait for Trey to grow. This has always been the issue, but when the 49ers decided to give up as much as they did for Trey Lance, that should have been something that they thought about, right? So why are they messing around with both? I mean, I feel like they do want to give the keys to Trey Lance because they feel that Trey Lance indeed has the higher ceiling between him and Jimmy Garoppolo. That being said, that doesn't mean that Trey Lance is going to hit that ceiling immediately. So, to your point, Javier, I think that's where, the experienced player like Jimmy Garoppolo suddenly that can present itself, and the 49ers suddenly have options. They don't have to necessarily throw away their opportunity at a Super Bowl if Trey Lance struggles. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation. I've always been a huge fan of Trey Lance. Not that I'm not a fan of Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, I haven't been the biggest supporter of Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but at the same time, I feel like I've been fair in my some of my critique of Jimmy Garoppolo. And so I was excited about Trey Lance, and I still am excited. And I just hope this situation doesn't turn ugly, because there is absolutely, this could get ugly. And so I don't want it to go there. Javier, appreciate it. Yeah, guys, hit the like button. I appreciate it. Even if you guys are not happy that Jimmy Garoppolo is back on this roster and he's staying, still like this, because, hey, I am just the messenger at this point. I didn't make this decision, okay? So go ahead, like the video. I appreciate it. Let's try to get this to 30 likes. Let's go, let's go, let's go, people. Okay. Now, let's talk about some of the good in this situation, because there is some good. And like I said, I have talked myself into coming around to this decision, okay? So I'm going to tell you how I got there. All right, so look at it this way. The 49ers undoubtedly have the best quarterback situation probably in all of football at this point. Trey Lance as the starter, Jimmy Garoppolo as your backup. That's a pretty good quarterback room right there. And as we mentioned a little bit ago, this is now an insulated, insured team should anything happen with Trey Lance, whether it be an injury, whether it be him, absolutely looking terrible out there. The 49ers they have a plan. They have a contingency plan should, the worst case scenario happen. And that plan is now Jimmy Garoppolo. So while I wasn't completely thrilled about it at first, I can also say to myself, well, if Trey Lance doesn't pan out right away, the season is not lost. And everyone should be happy to know that. Like, that should give everyone some type of comfort, at least. Other good thing about all this is that now that Jimmy Garoppolo's contract has been restructured, it means that we don't have to resent the fact that he's going to be making 25 million or whatever. Now it's much less, like you said. If he's only the backup the entire season, he's going to make 7 million this year, and that's pretty much it. That's the max he would make, okay? And then even if he does start, which we've seen him as a starter, okay? He is a very, very serviceable starter. You can put him middle of the pack with some of these other quarterbacks out here as a starter. Certainly better than Baker Mayfield, certainly better than Trubisky and some other guys that are starters in the NFL. So 16 million, like I said, easier pill to swallow, even for the 49ers, than 25 million, of course, right? So this is the good. He now comes at a way cheaper price, regardless if he's a starter or if he's the backup. And that is good for this team, because if they need to make any moves throughout this season, let's say around the trade deadline, there is Maybe they're having offensive line issues. I know everyone's worried about the offensive line. What if there's a offensive lineman on the market, interior offensive lineman that, is on the last year of his contract, that a team that, knows they're not going to make the playoffs is willing to deal. And maybe the 49ers would then consider that move because now they have a lot of money to allocate elsewhere due to this restructure. So you can look at it that way. They still saved some money out of this situation. Now, I also want to say that if Trey Lance balls out, none of this even matters. We won't even bat an eye to this. If the season ends and Trey Lance is as good as we think he's going to be, Jimmy Garoppolo is an afterthought. It won't even matter that this happened. So you're upset right now, but if Trey Lance is good, like we think, who cares? Like, who cares about this? No one. You're not going to care. So that's one good aspect of this as well. And like we mentioned earlier, if a quarterback on a desirable team gets hurt mid-season, Jimmy Garoppolo can decide that he wants to waive his no trade clause and get traded to another team. That is still on the table as well. Again, that's a good option for the team to have the possibility that they can still trade for him. I know this whole trade Jimmy thing has been dragging along a really long time, and yes, it's still going on, right? But there's some flexibility there. The team has flexibility now in this situation with this move, and we can feel good about that at least. The other option, or the other good thing about this, is that the 49ers can also get a compensatory pick for Jimmy Garoppolo if he were to sign with another team next year. So regardless of what happens, I think the 49ers can come out on top of the situation and really gain something out of it, which is a good thing. It's kind of a win-win situation if you look at it like that, which I would beg you to. Let's not, turn a negative town and, be there forever. It's okay to be negative sometimes. Like I said, I was not happy when I saw this news right away, but we could find some good in it. It's not fun to be pissed off all the time. And quite frankly, I like this team enough that, I want to forgive them for some of their mistakes, So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Let's see. Let's get to some of these comments. Melissa says, Steph, good to see you. Hate the reason for the pod. See, Melissa over here, she's not happy about this move. Well, Melissa, I hope if you're still watching, I hope that I can give you some comfort in it. I don't know. I'm trying here. I'm trying to make sense of it as well. It's a process for sure. Keith says Sudfeld, Jimmy G, and Brock Purdy in a 3-way wrestling match to see who makes backup. Then Roman Reigns super punches all three as Kittle gives Reigns a stunner. Jimmy G sneaks in to cover the win. That is this comment is art right now. It's performance art, and I like it. Good question, though, about what happens with this roster now that we know Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be on it. So let's talk about the bad. I talked about the good. All right. I talked about the good first. Some of you can appreciate that. But let's talk about the bad about this move. There's pros and cons and everything. Let's talk about the cons here. Obviously, there are a lot of implications to the 49ers keeping Jimmy Garoppolo, and it's not always rainbows and sunshines, okay? So the first thing is anytime Lance plays poorly, and I mentioned this already, and this is obvious, the Jimmy Garoppolo questions are going to get loud immediately, like right after the game. If, let's just say, a Trey Lance interception ends a game, 49ers lose. All of the questions from the media are going to be like, have you thought about starting Jimmy Garoppolo? Jimmy Garoppolo, you have Jimmy Garoppolo. Have you thought about? Yeah. And you can expect that will happen eventually because Trey Lance is not going to be perfect in his first year as a starter. So It's going to happen. What has the team done to prepare themselves for that? Is there really anything you can do to prepare for that? Are you preparing your locker room for that? I mean, is there a risk of there being a locker room split some point in the middle of the season where some guys want Jimmy Garoppolo to start and some guys are fine with Trey Lance? Because that's what you don't want. And I think if it got to that point, it would get really ugly really fast. And that could really affect Trey Lance in long term. I mean, you think about these players are human. I know my friend Jordan, he talks about this a lot, the human element, which we often forget. These players are human. They experience real emotions, and it's not going to be very fun for Trey Lance to experience Jimmy Garoppolo questions, hearing Kyle Shanahan, get these Jimmy Garoppolo questions. Should Trey Lance play badly? Like the first time that happens, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Will Trey Lance, fold under the pressure? I mean, it is a lot of pressure because on top of this already being a Super Bowl ready team, deep playoff run team, on top of that, him getting the keys to this team, now he has to think about Jimmy Garoppolo being behind his shoulder. And you can argue that Jimmy Garoppolo was in the same situation last year. The same, pretty much, except it was already it's kind of opposite, but the same in some ways. And I would say that Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, handled it well. Um, Trey Lance, a younger, maybe less mature quarterback. I hope he's really mature. He seems really mature, so I'll say that. But like, I hope his confidence is, ready to take a few hits, because again, the Jimmy Garoppolo questions are going to come eventually, and it'll be interesting to see how Trey Lance responds to all of that. All right. Now, let's see what happens. Another bad implication of all this. Will Jimmy Garoppolo being on the roster, does that take a valuable roster spot for someone else? Because we've already talked about the fact that this team is so freaking deep. They don't even know what to do with all these good players. They're going to have to cut a lot of them. We've been talking about the Trey Sermon versus Jordan Mason debate. And think about it like this. If Jimmy Garoppolo stays and they also keep Nate Sudfeld, that's one less roster spot for someone else. If Jordan Mason was one of those guys, I just know 49er fans are going to be up in arms. There's going to be an uproar. They will riot. It'll be ugly. So I wonder what the 49ers do. I'm not the 49ers, but if I were, I would not keep Nate Sudfeld or Brock Purdy at this point. Because if you keep either of those guys, then you're definitely sacrificing a roster spot at another position that, might actually be of greater value than the quarterback position. Not to say that, it's not important to have good quarterback depth, but if Jimmy Garoppolo is your immediate backup, why do you need Nate Sudfeld? Why do you need Brock Purdy? You don't. So at this point, would rather the quarterback room be only Trey Lance and only Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, if they want to keep Brock Purdy on the practice squad, Nate Sudfeld on the practice squad, sure. I mean, that's cool. But I would not have either of them taking up a roster spot on this roster if you're planning to keep Garoppolo, which they are. So that's what I'm going to say. I know, let's see here. Keith has a comment. Trey has already told media that he doesn't care what they say. He only cares about what coaches and teammates say. Now, if team says something backing Jimmy over Trey, that will cause issues. Yeah, I mean, I know he doesn't care what the media says, and that's really good. But yeah, I mean, you don't want there to be an internal locker room battle about who should be starting because, if Trey Lance struggles for a stretch, that could very well happen. Because as we've been mentioning, this is a Super Bowl ready team, and all of these guys want to make the Super Bowl. They want to win a Super Bowl. If they feel like anything is in the way of that, yeah, it's a good chance some of them are going to speak up. So that's the risk that's being taken here, by keeping Jimmy Garoppolo around. So it'll be interesting to see. Now, what I thought was interesting about the situation last year, Jimmy Garoppolo started, the whole season except for the games he was hurt where Trey Lance played, but um, he was Garoppolo was the QB1 still, and there was a fork in the road where the 49ers lost several games in a row, and the media was kept asking Kyle Shanahan, well, have you thought about putting Trey Lance out there? And the team never did. They never budged. It wasn't until Garoppolo got hurt that they were forced to start Trey Lance at that point. And so I wonder if Trey Lance has a stretch where he's struggling and the offense is struggling. What is the point where the 49ers would say, okay, now we have to switch? Because in last year's case, when Jimmy Garoppolo was the starter and they lost those first few games in the middle of the season, or the beginning of the season, there was still a chance for them to make the playoffs. So rightfully so, Kyle Shanahan didn't want to make any big changes until they were out of playoff contention. This year, you don't want to even be in a situation where you're not making the playoffs. So, when is that point where, how many games, if Trey Lance struggles, do you say, okay, we're going to switch, we're going to make a change? I don't know. And I don't know if you can really quantify that. Could you, yeah, it is going to be tough to navigate for this team if anything with Trey Lance does not go as planned. Like I said, it could get ugly very fast. Keith Carter says, he's taking Sudfeld's valuable spot. He's backup of the future. You think Nate Sudfeld is backup of the future? I don't know. There's backups of the future are a dime a dozen. I mean, I know 49er fans like Nate Sudfeld, and he's good. I like Nate Sudfeld. He be throwing darts out there, and he looks good. But Brock Purdy surprised me as well. I mean, both of those guys are good. Yeah, he says Sudfeld may get protected practice squad player. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they really think that Nate Sudfeld is the backup of the future, they will do that. But in my opinion, it's not that hard to get a good backup in this league. So we'll see. He says Jimmy G to Danny Gray is like Jimmy G to Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl. Hey. Whoa, let's not go there. I don't want to see that, first of all. I don't want to see Jimmy G throwing a Danny Gray in any situation. So to kind of, summarize all of this, I'm going to come around to this decision. I feel like I've already accepted it, but if all goes well, I still hope all goes well with Trey Lance, because if everything goes well with Trey Lance and he plays well, he balls out, none of this is going to matter. You're not going to care about it either. So that's what we're hoping for. And that's a very small margin of error that we have to work with, because like I said, any small bit of Trey Lance looking bad, it could unravel. Okay, that's what I'm afraid of most. But I hope that's not the case. Look, let's summarize the good and the bad here. As I mentioned, the good situation, the good thing about all this, the 49ers are insured. If Trey Lance looks freaking terrible out there, we don't have to say goodbye to a Super Bowl chance, okay? And like I said, you guys should all be excited about that. You guys should all be comfortable with that. There's no reason to be mad at that. Because if Trey Lance did happen to look bad and they didn't have Jimmy Garoppolo, the season's fucked. So at least now, with Jimmy Garoppolo as a backup, we can still make the playoffs. We can make a deep run. We can make the Super Bowl again if it gets to that point. So the 49ers are protected. All right. Feel good about that. Again, now that the contract has been restructured, Jimmy Garoppolo is a lot cheaper for this team. And if he stays the backup, which we all hope that he does, right? He'll only make $7 million. Much easier pill to swallow. We're not mad at that. Yes, it's a lot for a backup, but Jimmy Garoppolo is maybe the best backup in the league. So yeah, I mean, that's okay, fine. And like I said already, Trey Lance balls out. None of this matters. We don't even talk about it ever again. Okay. And then there's still a possibility that should there be a injury to another quarterback on a team that Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't mind going to, like if he likes that team, he thinks it's a good opportunity, he can waive his no trade clause and he can decide to go to that team. 49ers get a pick in the process. That can happen. And that would be a win-win situation for both sides. We'd all be happy. And then the other good thing, even if Jimmy Garoppolo stays on the roster all year, there's the chance for the 49ers to get a compensatory pick for him next year if he signs with another team at that time. So that's the good. The bad is Jimmy Garoppolo taking the roster spot of someone else. Do they keep Nate Sudfeld and Brock Purdy? I don't think they should. I think they should just stick with Lance and Garoppolo. And I'd be happy with that. I wouldn't feel like he's taking someone's spot if they just keep Lance and Garoppolo. And then the other bad is that, like I said, if Trey Lance struggles at any point, if he has a bad game, the questions are gonna pop up of Garoppolo. And, when are you thinking of putting him in? Have you thought about it? Blah, blah, blah. That's the bad. The other bad that I didn't mention, Rita Oak, who has been tirelessly drawing Jimmy Garoppolo every day until he gets traded. She just signed an extension to continue drawing with this move. So yeah, she's going to have to keep drawing. She maybe should have written a contract for this saying, after the August 30th, she wouldn't have to keep drawing. I don't know what she's going to do, but I enjoy her drawing. So hopefully she'll keep drawing. But yeah, I mean, there's good and bad in this situation. But let's try to focus on the good because after all, we're still fans of the 49ers. We're going to have to live with this one way or another. So let's try to focus on some of the good if we can and hope that the bad does not happen. Simple as that. Keith said, Trey will learn and grow. Bottom line, he has upside. There's no ceiling. Jimmy is at ceiling and no growth unless he gets Lamar Jackson legs. Yes, exactly. And the 49ers know this. So while it feels like them keeping Jimmy Garoppolo is an immediate indictment on Trey Lance and how they feel about him, it's really not. They still think that he has the higher ceiling. That's why they gave up so much for him in the first place. And yeah, I mean, the 49ers obviously hope that Trey Lance pans out. Why wouldn't they? So yeah, I'm with you there. Sugarnaut says this is the best thing that could happen for this team. I would still rather have two proven offensive linemen. Yeah, me too. I mean, we got some proven guys. I mean, Trent Williams, Mike McGlinchey was back at practice today. We're happy about that. But yeah, some of the other guys are still question marks. So I feel you there. Dawson says, feel bad for her. Speaking about Rita Oak. Yeah, she's gonna her portfolio, our portfolio is gonna be like packed by the time she's done with all this. So I mean, I think at this point she can get any job she wants that has to do with her art. Keith says another positive is Jimmy intermediate game leads to a lot of yak, but Trey will shine and add a long intermediate and run game aspect. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I hope Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have any reason to play this year. And But yeah, I mean, should he need to play? Sure, there are some positives to that too, because you know that if Jimmy Garoppolo does play, it's because Trey Lance either looked terrible or because Trey Lance got hurt. So, yeah, that's really the only situation where Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be starting for this team ever again. All right, guys, I appreciate you coming on today and listening to me talk about this as I try to convince myself that this was a good move, right? I'm trying to get you guys there too. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. Make sure you like this video. Let's try to get to 30 likes. We are trying to do it. We will do it. Let's go. Let's go. Appreciate you guys. Have a good rest of your night. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. Peace.